Welcome back everyone to the video series dedicated show on Paramount Plus, where an alliance has its own theme song. At the end of this episode, I think we hear the King's Palace have their own theme song called Save the Palace or Safety Palace, and I'm not gonna lie, it sounded pretty good. Drop that on Spotify and I'm gonna be putting it on loop for a while. That's right, we're talking about The Challenge All-Stars Season 2, Episode 7, and how I would describe this episode is whoa baby, both figuratively and literally. But before we can get into any baby talk, let's start off where last episode left off, and that was Kendall being medically DQ'd, Latyrian beating Tyler in a pole wrestle, where Latyrian and Jasmine became a new pair, and they get the life shield heading back to the challenge house, and the King's Palace is celebrating yet again. They're rejoicing not only for the elimination win, which is a ton, but they also gained some new members. So now the King's Palace is looking like Tech, Nehemiah, Latyrian, Melinda, Jasmine, and Ayanna, and they're getting loud, they're having a good time, they're doing their own theme song, and when they're singing, it travels through the whole house, and not everybody is enjoying the free concert they're getting from the King's Palace. We move to a conversation between Janelle and Brad, and Janelle is trying to get it into Brad's head that for the good of the game and their alliance, he has to put up Nehemiah and take a shot at him sooner rather than later. Now, Brad and Nehemiah are friends inside and outside of the house, and Brad is wanting to talk to Nehemiah, try to get him on a level playing field, trying to tell him like, hey, maybe if you don't do this, maybe you won't take a shot here. But Janelle's like, don't talk to him, just make the moves that are right. And he is on the opposite alliance. Brad just wants to have a conversation with his friend, trying to get on the same page. We move to a conversation that Casey is having with her fiance in the phone room, and alarm bells are going off for me early on in this episode because last week we saw Kendall have a phone call from home and she got medically DQ'd. Now we're seeing Casey have a phone call from home, and I'm thinking, well, Casey's gone. But before we can get to that, let's have everybody don their challenge gear, heading down to meet TJ at this week's daily challenge. But when they get there and line up, where's TJ? TJ is nowhere to be seen. Then cue up Chameleonaire's Riding Dirty, where TJ is pulling in. He gets out, walks over to the challengers who are impressed. They all clap for him, and TJ is then ready to tell everybody that they will be doing a challenge today called Steer Clear. In this week's daily challenge, teams will have to be riding in the back of this truck. One team member is going to be lying on their belly, laying out on this boom, and they'll be trying to grab flags that are hanging off of poles on the backs of these cars or motorcycles, and their teammate are gonna have to try to direct them so that they will be able to get the flags from either side. The team that can collect the most flags will win into power, while the team that collects the least amount of flags will be heading directly into the elimination. This daily challenge is fun. This is how you do car daily challenges, not strapping people to the hoods of a car, doing donuts or anything. You make them do this, and it is actually fun to watch. It's exciting. There's strategy to it, and I can follow along what's going on. Now, it looks as though that Nehemiah and Melinda will be going first, and normally it's a disadvantage to go first in daily challenges, but Nehemiah and Melinda kill this, getting 20 flags. As other teams go through this, nobody can match their total. We have Ayanna and Tech go next, where they didn't have a lot of communication going on between them. Now, what teams would do is that the women who are out on the boom would like yell back like, go left, go right, I couldn't get that one, go more left, go more right. But when Ayanna was out there, she was just screaming for her life, which is like understandable. She's out there hanging off of this truck, cars are whizzing by her, she's just having a blast, but also you just want to scream. That's your like initial reaction to all of this. They only get 11 flags. Then Latyrian and Jasmine, who are working together for the first time, are out there not doing so well. They get 10 flags, but luckily they have the life shield, so they're not too worried or in any danger this episode. Next up is Darrell and Janelle, who have a bit of a stumbling block as they start out this daily challenge, but they end with a solid 17 flags in their bag. Next up, Casey and Kutta, which you would think maybe they would have some struggles with this, but they end with only one flag behind Darrell and Janelle, getting 16 flags. MJ and Janae have a very strong team dynamic, getting 19 flags, oh so close to surpassing Melinda and Nehemiah, but it all comes down to Brad and Jody, who won the previous daily challenge, and so they want to get back into power. They don't want Nehemiah and Melinda to be in power, and when it comes down to it, Jody says that she only missed 2 flags, and that was enough as they edged out Melinda and Nehemiah to get this power, get this win in this daily challenge. They got 21 flags, 1 over Nehemiah and Melinda. So Brad and Jody are back into power. And when it comes down to the losing team, Latyrian and Jasmine only got 10 flags. They were the bottom team, but because they have the life shield, they have to use it. So they are wiped from the board. They are out of danger. And so now it goes to the next lowest flags, and that is Iana and Tech, and they will be going directly into the elimination. Coming back to the challenge house, this is the worst case scenario for the King's Palace, as they have Iana and Tech directly going into the elimination. The other alliance is in power, so now everybody is thinking that it's going to be Nehemiah and Melinda going into the elimination. But Nehemiah and Brad are friends, like I said, so Nehemiah is thinking that maybe his friendship with Brad would maybe let him weasel his way out of seeing the elimination. Heading to the nomination ceremony, Jody's first suggestion is putting up Nehemiah and Melinda and then Darrell and Janelle as a pawn. Brad, again, does not want to put up Nehemiah, but he knows for game strategy, this is the right move to be made. So he says, I totally understand, let's put up Nehemiah and Melinda, but instead of Darrell and Janelle, let's put up Casey and Kahada. Darrell and Janelle have been doing better in challenges. They are my number 1 team next to us, and they're more valuable. So if anybody tries to do anything wonky, that's putting them in danger. And if they went into power next time, I don't want them throwing me up there as the pawn because we threw them up as a pawn. Jody totally agrees with this rationale. So the nominated players are Nehemiah, Melinda, and Casey and Kahada. Nehemiah looks to be the first one at the board, and he sees his name and Melinda's name. He's not mad, but he's a little disappointed, and Brad is right there to try to do some damage control, but the damage has already been done, Brad, and Nehemiah is pissed. Back at the challenge house, Kahada was in the shower when all of this was going on. When he got out of the shower, somebody told him that his and Casey's name was up on the board for the house vote. He goes directly to his room to get the answers and being like, is this a joke or am I actually on the board? And everybody reassures him that your name is on the board, but you're not going to get any votes. You're not going to see an elimination, just like MJ and John A were the pawns last time. You are going to be the pawn this time, and you will be staying out of the elimination. Kahada knows how the challenge house can be deceitful, but at this point, there's nothing he can do but trust his alliance. We move to a quick conversation between Janelle and Melinda, where Janelle talks about how they haven't really talked strategy throughout this game, but she wanted to give Melinda the heads up that she will be voting for her and Nehemiah tomorrow in the house vote, and it's because they are in a different alliance that they were celebrating too much after their alliance members winning. And Melinda was like, are you kidding me? You're gonna throw me in because of celebrating with my alliance members and my friends? Things get a little chippy here, but Melinda wants to end the conversation saying that she was never going to send Janelle into the elimination or say her name if the roles were reversed. Melinda takes everything that was said between her and Janelle back to the King's Palace, where the King's Palace is pissed. They are just frustrated with everything that is going on in this episode. They hate how they are trapped going up against each other now, and they take that aggression to the bar where they are getting loud, they are frustrated. Latyrian voices his frustrations that there are some players in this game that this is their second All-Star season and they have yet to been put into the elimination or be nominated for an elimination, aka he's talking about Darrell. He is pissed that Darrell has not seen an elimination, yet there are some players that are going to be seeing their second and third eliminations, and this is either their first or second season. Nehemiah is pissed as well. He thought him and Brad were cool and they were making plans to see each other outside of the season, but now Nehemiah's like, I don't know where we stand. He's taking shots at our friendship and me in this house. Brad, on the other hand, is talking to his alliance, which the bar is separated into the two alliances. One alliance is on one side of the bar, the other alliance is on the other side of the bar, which is really funny to see. But Brad is talking to his alliance going like, look, I like Nehemiah, he's my friend, but on a game level, it makes no sense to try to keep him safe and jeopardize my own game. That if I risk my neck for Nehemiah at this moment, there's no telling if he was going to keep me safe or take a shot at my other alliance members, and I don't want my alliance members to be pissed off at me, so it's better just to do what I gotta do to keep my place in this game, which is a really good place, and I totally don't blame Brad, but it seems as though that Nehemiah is taking this very, very personal and gets very loud at the bar, and it's getting a little bit heated at the bar. We move on to the next morning where Brad and Nehemiah are talking out on the balcony, and they're just having a one-on-one conversation, and that maybe things got too heated in the moment last night, but Brad kind of like lays it down like, look, this is how the game is shaking out. We're friends, but the way the game is going, I just found myself on one side of the house, you found yourself on the other side of the house, and this is what needs to be done. We're getting down to the nitty-gritty, and you gotta do what you gotta do to survive and keep Brad's place in the game. And Nehemiah totally understand where he's coming from. They're not giving up on this friendship. They do still have a friendship, and they know that this is just strictly game moves. They like handshake it out, and they're gonna keep that line of communication up with each other. Now, before we get to the house vote, we move on to a little segment where Casey is taking a pregnancy test. And not just one, she takes like a whole box of pregnancy tests. Then she goes to have another phone conversation with her fiance where she lets him know that she is indeed pregnant. This is yet another instance of someone coming into the challenge game already pregnant. This seems to be a normal trend now from season 34 to All Stars 2 that a woman comes on who is already pregnant. This is ridiculous. Congratulations to Casey and her fiance and her whole family for this lovely blessing and miracle, but what the heck? Why is she on the challenge already pregnant and she doesn't find out until episode 7? What? All right, I got that out of my system. Let's move on to where Casey says that she's not going to tell anybody that she is pregnant. She just wants to go into the house vote, see how this all shakes out, and then deal with it as we get there. We move on to the house vote where it is clear that it's 4-0 for Nehemiah and Melinda be going into the elimination against Ayanna and Tech. And this is where we have a funny moment where Nehemiah pulls an Ayanna taking off the clothes and showing that he in fact slept in his challenge uniform, ready for this elimination, albeit going up against a friend and an alliance member. We move to the post vote where we have a very somber moment in the King's Palace where we have Tech and Nehemiah packing up their clothes. Latyrion is getting emotional over this because he knows that a dear friend or friends are leaving the game this episode and there's nothing else that they can do about it. They are going up against each other. So then we move to the arena where TJ calls down Tech and Ayanna, Nehemiah and Melinda down to the arena grounds, and then TJ does the unthinkable and says that he has good news and bad news. And that the good news is that there will be no elimination, which I thought in my head that it was going to be good news and bad news. Bad news is that we weren't going to have an elimination, and good news is that Casey is leaving because she has good news. And then Casey was going to say that she is pregnant, but instead he flipped and reversed it. TJ says that they have good news, and that is that there is no elimination, that both Ayanna and Tech and Nehemiah and Melinda's teams are going to be able to stay in this game. But the bad news is that Casey is going to be medically DQ'd and is no longer able to compete in this All-Star season. And everybody's looking at Casey, and Casey lets it be known that she is indeed pregnant, and everybody is clapping, rejoicing, especially Tech, who says he will buy anything that the baby needs because it is saving his hide going up against Nehemiah right now. And some other bad news is that because Kahutta and Casey are partnered up with each other, because Casey has to leave, Kahutta has to leave as well. So both of them will be leaving this episode. And so sadly, we are seeing Casey and Kahutta leave this game. No elimination happened this episode. And also because there was no elimination, there are no life shields. So everybody is up for grabs next episode, which means that with the final 6 teams and no life shield, next week's episode, and very close to the finals, mind you, the finals actually started in episode 8, at the end of episode 8 last season. So this is going to be a pivotal episode and daily challenge, and whoever's in power, this is going to be so freaking pivotal. The most important daily challenge in the season is going to happen next episode, because this is where things could get really shaken up. But that is it for this episode of Challenge All-Stars Season 2. What'd you think about this episode? Let me know that in the comment section below. What'd you think about the daily challenge? What'd you think about the King's Palace song? Did you think it was a good bop? Do you think it slaps? Or do you think it's like, it's not for me, it's not my genre of music? Also, what'd you think about Casey being pregnant and finding out on the show? I still can't believe it. Like, what the heck? I mean, again, congratulations, Casey and her family, but another woman pregnant, finding out on the show. My gosh, seriously, something needs to change there. What'd you think about anything and everything? Let me know that in the comment section below. And are you sad that there was no elimination? Let me know that as well. Thank you so much for watching. While you're down there, hit that like and subscribe button. I'll be back really soon with more Challenge All-Star content, more challenge content, more content in general. But until then, peace.